therapy assistant, as well as a home safety specialist. So, worked in a hospital setting for about 4.5 years, treating patients, helping them get better, back to independence, hopefully, to go back home, and really saw a lot of my patients discharged from the hospital, go back home, and they're back in the hospital within hours, sometimes days. And most of them had to do with a fall. And a lot of the times those falls could have been prevented, whether it's environmental modifications, or just knowing your medications or knowing your own body as well. So definitely wanted to, I created a passion for fall prevention, and that's when I became a fall prevention specialist, and kind of helping people out and guiding them through their own home, kind of seeing their own fall risks and safety hazards. So today we'll talk about both fall prevention statistics, and then take also a guided tour through the home and talk about what we can do. I provided each of you a checklist that you can look at as well, so you can take it back home and or assess your own home or a loved one's home as well. So we'll get started. First off, so we'll start talking about statistics, general home safety considerations, evaluating the home, and then Alzheimer's and dementia considerations as well, because there's things that you can do those aspects. And then to talk about the fear of falling, because that is definitely very valid. Low to no cost solutions, and then what we do next. So we have all this information now. What do we do with it? So, risk of falls. So let's talk a little bit about statistics. 1 in 4 individuals over the age of 65 fall in their home per year. And falls are actually the leading causes of injury-related deaths in people over this age of 65. And then 95% of hip fractures are caused. Yes, that's high, huh? It's surprising. But yeah, 95% of hip fractures are caused by falls, and 25% of those people with a hip fracture will actually die within 1 year of a fall too. I would say most of the times, when I was working in the hospital setting, a lot of my time was spent in the orthopedic. So we would do knee surgeries, hip surgeries. A lot of people, the time that are getting revisions are they were due to a fall. So, and 50% will experience major lasting declines in function too after they have a fall and a hip fracture too. So it's harder to get back to that level of independence. So let's talk about some physiological changes that our bodies go through as we age. And so different things, it could be vision changes, decrease in muscle mass, reduced flexibility, poor balance and coordination, and then deconditioning and fatigue. We're not moving around as much. We're not doing as much as we used to anymore. So anytime you need to call your doctor or report to the staff any changes that you see, I always recommend everyone goes to the eye doctor each year, well, at least once a year, just to have their vision checked. And also, you can also talk to a physical therapist, and they can test your balance where you're at too. Leading causes of falls in older adults. So this is a pretty big list that we have right here. So over the age of 80 years, arthritis, balance issues, diabetes and pain, dementia, depression, dizziness, female sex, the functional limitations, gait issues, history of a previous fall, incontinence, problems with vision, and then another big one that I like to talk about is polypharmacy. Polypharmacy we'll touch a little bit more on a little bit later too. It's when you're taking more than 4 or more medications. There are a little bit of different definitions. Some people say 3 or more medications. Some people say 4 or 5, so I just go right in the middle, 4 or more medications. Also reduce muscle strength. So what are some things that we can do? What are some environmental hazards that we see around the home? What are some modifications that we can do? The biggest fall hazard around the home are rugs. Rugs are the biggest trip hazard for people. Even if they're tacked down, even if they're taped down, they still have a chance of falling. A lot of people, as we age, we don't have the same cadence and step, which means we're not lifting our step. And a lot of the times we shuffle our feet. That's when that could happen. And so slip resistant surfaces like in the bathtub, a lot of people don't have that. Most falls occur actually around where water is, in the kitchen or like in the bathroom as well. Also insufficient lighting. especially at night. We don't just lay in bed the entire night. We're in and out, we're getting water, we're going to the bathroom. So just having sufficient lighting while you're around. And then clutter. Clutter is one of the biggest things I see when I go into the home to do a home safety evaluation. There's shoes on the ground, there's clothes, there's dog toys, there's cat toys, there's boxes, and they're having to wield or maneuver themselves around these items when they can just be easily moved, because that's a huge tripping hazard. So modifications, what can we do? Remove all area rugs, all rooms and hallways well lit with easy accessible light switches. Conveniently located light switches as well, so easier to access, such as if you're in bed, having a night light, something easy to kind of press on instead of having to walk across the room to turn on the light. I apologize. Motion activated night lights to and from the bathroom to help out a lot. A lot of the falls will actually occur at night too. Strategically placed chairs. And so a lot of people, when they come home from the hospital or they're a little bit more deconditioned, they may get fatigued pretty quickly. So walking 40 or 50 feet, halfway they become winded. Having somewhere that they can quickly go sit down at too. And then home free of clutter too. Medication side effects. So medication side effects plays a huge role in falling. As we talked about, polypharmacy defined as the use of 4 or more medications. Types of medications that increase your fall risk are heart and circulatory medications, such as medications for hypotension or bradycardia, psychotropic drugs, sedatives, antidepressants, and then Parkinson's medications as well. A lot of the side effects, they're very, very common between medications. It's drowsiness, dizziness, lowered blood pressure, and decreased alertness as well. And so when you have multiple medications acting together, say you have 4 medications that each one of them, the side effects is drowsiness, so it just may take a more heightened effect. I always say, call your doctor, talk to your doctor about all the medications that you're taking, and the multiple doctors too. You may have a cardiologist, and you may also have a pulmonologist, and then you may also have a concierge doctor or whoever it may be. But all of them need to be on the same page on what they're prescribing and what they're doing as well. A pretty drastic example, my uncle right now actually has heart failure. So in the past year and a half, he's really been going through it. They've been adjusting his medications up and down all over the place. Just about a week and a half ago, he had called me that he was on his way back home from the hospital because he was just very fatigued, couldn't breathe. He was tired all the time. His vision was off. Everything was very blurred. And so he gets to the hospital and he about faints right there. And his blood pressure was 40/20. Normal blood pressure is 120/80. And so, and if there's any sort of, usually around a 20-point drop, say your blood pressure, your typical blood pressure is 120/80, you'll start to feel lightheaded and dizzy at 100 over like 60 or whatever it is. And so for him to be that low, and what it was, he was overdosing on his medications. He had 4 different cardiologists telling him to take this medication, this medication. All of them were to lower his blood pressure. And so he was taking them as prescribed, and it nearly killed him. So now they've balanced it out. He's doing better, but that's just one very, very drastic example. Staying healthy and preventing falls. So some things that you can do. We talked about the medications and their side effects. Talk with your doctor. Also, proper footwear around the house is very, very important. Not only outside the house, but inside the house too. You want to wear closed-toed shoes. You want to wear something that's slip resistant as well. I did a home safety evaluation just last week for this absolutely amazing woman, and she had rugs everywhere. Oh my gosh, there was probably a couple inch gaps between rugs. But underneath was hardwood floor, and that hardwood floor was so slippery that I was wearing shoes and I slipped actually. So always get your flooring checked out too, and then get your vision checked out, and then being active. don't be sedentary. We used to have a saying in the hospital that every day you spend in the bed, it takes 3 days to regain that strength actually. So say someone's in bed for 2 weeks at a time, how long is it going to take? 14 days times 3, 42 days just to regain that strength back to independence, statistically speaking. So there's things that you can do, just light exercise, 30 minutes of walking per day. And it doesn't have to be straight 30 minutes. You can break it up if you need to work your way up to that. 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 15, however it may be. Just getting that exercise in. And also just moving around. I'm a full believer in if you don't use it, you lose it. If I'm not going to move my arms around, I'm going to get frozen shoulder. If I'm not moving my legs around, my muscle mass is going to decrease. My flexibility is going to decrease. How many of you had the flu and then you're over it, but the next day you're still tired? You're still tired. That is your body still recovering from you being down and out. You're laying in bed all day or on the couch or whatever it was. Or you can be like my wife and still work through everything that you have and say you're totally fine. All right, so fact, fewer than half adults who experience a fall go on to disclose the fall to their doctors. So what does that mean? 50%, basically 50% of people don't tell their doctors or their family members that they had a fall. And so that statistic that I was talking about before, the 1 in 4, what if that's actually 2 in 4? That's half the population over age of 65 fall in their homes per year. So transfers. This is more for people who are helping out their loved one or they're caregiving for their loved one if they have a caregiver as well. What you can do to not only make it a safe transfer for that person, but for you as well. So there's things that you can do. Plan the transfer ahead of time. If someone's in a wheelchair, you can angle the wheelchair, make it a little bit closer to the wherever they're going. If someone, feet positioning, leg positioning, things like that. Angle wheelchairs or chairs, and then body mechanics. So is this right? Or what am I going to do? I'm going to fall right over. I don't really have that much balance. Yeah. Alex, come here. This is Alex. So I want you to just lightly push me on my shoulder. So I'm automatically going to have to do something. Now, if I have my feet shoulder width apart, do the same thing. I'm not going to move. It's going to be the same thing as when you're doing the transfer as well. You want to have a good base of support.
Also, it's teaching people to angle their feet.
That's
when they stand up.
Yeah. You don't want to have it like as he's saying, you don't want to have it straight out, but angle of the feet, you get a little bit more basic support as well. You can actually weight shift a little bit better too. So feet shoulder width apart, angle your feet out a little bit. Now what am I doing wrong right now? I'm bending at my back. So you're going to want to bend at your what? Flex at your hips and your knees, yeah. So you're going to go down. You want to use your knees, not your back. Okay, and then avoid twisting too. So if you're helping out someone transferring get up and you need to turn them into a wheelchair, you're not going to want to twist your body, but instead pivot your foot, if that makes sense. So that avoids the twisting of your lower trunk and saves your back. Keep the resident or person, patient, whoever it is, close to your body. So say you helping someone stand up, you don't want to be so far out and stand them up like that. You want to have them close to you because if anything were to happen, you have that reaction time and more strength to kind of help them. Use your legs, not your backs. And then one thing I tell people is nose over toes. So someone trying to stand up, make sure that your nose is going over your toes. So for example, here. Try to scoot back so that people can see too. So while you're sitting down, if you can, try to stand up while you're scooting all the way back. Try to stand up without leaning forward. Try to stand up without leaning forward. You lean forward just a slight bit. So Standing up straight, I would have to have my legs all the way back to go up straight. Now, just slightly lean forward a little bit, and that's just going to give you so much. Now, if you tell someone to put your nose over your toes, that's going to automatically bring them forward, and they can stand straight up. Does that make sense? Yeah. Any questions right now? And in the chat, please light it up. Ask me any questions that you guys have too. And then Sochi, if you'd like, or do you have access to it?
Yeah, for
Okay,
Q&A.
cool. So yeah, nose over toes, got to that. I used to tell my patients, pretend like you're going to ski. All right, so now I want to do a guided tour of the house, okay? So we're going to go room by room of different things that you can do. A lot of things that you're going to see is going to be a little bit redundant. So like the lighting, the rugs, the clutterness, stuff like that. But it has to do from all throughout the house. So guided tour of the bedroom. All clothes are easily accessible. So no one's reaching up high trying to get something. No one's reaching down low trying to get something. It's pretty easily accessible. You can even put out clothes the night before too. Designated chair to sit on for dressing too. I've had a lot of my patients actually fall like while they're putting on the pants, just because they get imbalanced or something like that. Having a chair right behind you, that will save you. And so you can just sit right back down if you ever get imbalanced. Keep all floors and pathways clear of clutter. So your shoes, clothes in the laundry basket or whatever it's supposed to go, and then also electrical cords too. A lot of people have electrical cords and they'll have them under the carpet over them. Huge trip hazard too, so have them just along the walls. And then keep a flashlight near a bed or in the nightstand too. In case there is a power outage, you have that accessibility too. I actually do suggest having like a flashlight in living room, bedroom, bathroom, and like kitchen sometimes too, just communally located throughout the house. And then check windows for easy to use, and just in case of an emergency that you can get in and out. And then keep bed covers off the floor. Bed covers are actually a huge tripping hazard for people. Bed covers or bed skirts, you guys may know it as well. And especially with people with walkers too, they could wheel it into the walker. All right, let's go through the bathroom. So again, adequate lighting at the entry and sink, bathtub, and the shower, also over the toilet too. Motion detector night lights. It just helps illuminate to and from. Say someone has dementia and they don't have, they may not remember that they're not able to move around as well, and so they're trying to get to the bathroom. It's just a little bit harder. Having that motion detector night lights will help out a lot. Non-slip mats in and outside the shower tub, and then shower seat or tub bench too for anyone who's difficulty standing or getting in and out of the shower too. A lot of the times people will have a big tub that they have to like lift their legs over and stuff like that. There's a tool or there's a bench that you can get where it has 2 feet inside the tub and 2 feet outside the tub. So what you do is you sit outside and then bring your legs inside. That avoids kind of stepping over the threshold. Grab bars. Grab bars are so important. Even if you don't need them right now, I would just always suggest getting them installed. If you do anything, do not get the suction cup grab bars. Those pop right off. Even if it's a flat surface on glass, I still don't recommend those. I've had patients where they're back in the hospital because of they had one and it popped off, or they've told me, yeah, I've been in my living room and I hear something fall in the bathroom, and that's laying on the ground. And so I personally do not trust them. So I would rather have them built into the wall. Yeah. Really?
Seniors, if you cannot afford it, there's guidelines.
Okay, gotcha.
You know, but it's in the brochure that we have at the front desk here, and it's available, and yeah, so you apply, and so that low income wouldn't keep you away from that.
That's beautiful. Yeah, yeah.
The other thing is, I'm in an apartment building where they have bars there. They can be as lethal as anything you fall against them.
If you yes.
But we forget that wet, and wet is always slippery.
Yes.
So I keep a rag by that to grab the handbar.
Oh, to kind of dry it off.
And I'm having difficulty with my legs, so I can't get up just naturally.
Yeah.
So I take deep breathing exercises to inhale deeply and then exhale
As you're pulling yourself up. That's good. That's good. Yeah. I think that's maybe on this presentation too, but maybe on another deck. Anytime you're exerting yourself, you want to breathe out during the exertion. Exactly what you're saying. Breathe in, but in preparatory, and then breathe out during the exertion. So like standing up, breathing in, breathing out as you're standing to it.
And that breath also helps you get up because it's like glue.
Yeah, it's like glue kind of helping you up. Yeah, exactly. No, that's a good point. And a lot of grab bars too, it's not just they used to be made super slick. So you used to slide up and down. It's like almost like the pool hotels where they have that handlebar that is used to like slide down kind of thing. Now they have them with a lot of more gripping onto them too. But I have a guy that comes out, will do like gold grab bars if needed, will do kind of anything. But no, that was a very good point. Yes.
Actually went over that same my grandma's place.
Yeah.
And we just use like a silicone tube like you get from Home Depot and put it across the water like this. And it drizzled across and then when it's solidified.
Oh, create a little grip. Yeah. That's actually really smart. Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm gonna try that one time. That's smart. There's another place you can put grab bars too, now that I think of it, behind toilets too. It's not for the client, but it's for if someone needed help standing their loved one or their client up kind of thing. We work with a lot of caregivers, so our caregivers will need like kind of a hand just to help someone who's a little bit heavier set. Any questions right now? I know I've talked a lot so far.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. No, not at all. This is a free-flowing conversation. Oh no, it's okay. But the more the better, to be honest. And it's experience also. So your experience may be different from like other people's experience, and so that's what I've collectively learned throughout like my career too. And also, no one's the same person. You know, what works for you may not work for you, and what works for you may not work for you. You know what I mean? So it's definitely addressing. It comes down to the person. It comes down to what their diagnosis is, what their limitations are. How do we modify it, or how do we get them back to that level of independence? Usually, I'm at the point of like the modifications around the home kind of thing. All right, so the kitchen, same thing, non-skid, mats on the floor. Sink is easily reachable and can control the temperatures. Stable and steady step stool. I've gone into home safety assessments and the step stool's kind of off, or if the screw's a little bit loose. And then land surfaces for hot cookware too. All items are visible and reachable, including appliances, proper ventilation, fire extinguisher full and working, and don't wear loose clothing over the stove. And especially if your loved one has dementia, and they still like their independence and they want to cook. I'm a full believer, especially with my background being in occupational therapy. If you have that independence and you want to keep it, you keep it as much as you can, as long as safety is not a factor. So if your loved one likes to cook, just make sure they're not wearing loose clothing over the planes kind of thing. You can make sure they're supervised. Guided tour of living room and family room. Again, adequate lighting, easily accessible, sturdy furniture to get in and out of. Windows open and lock easily. Area rugs removed, and then tables with round edges, just in case of a fall were to occur. You want someone landing on like a sharp corner of an edge. 32 inches of clearance from objects and tables. So what I'm talking about that is, say there's a couch right here and then a table. You want 32 inches of distance between those two. Say someone has a walker and a wheelchair, that's just the standard rate or room for them to kind of maneuver all the way around. All right, laundry room, light switch easily accessible, clutter-free. Laundry essentials are conveniently accessible as well. You don't have to reach too far. And appliances are in working order, connected to a GFCI outlet. And that GFCI outlet will be the one that where it detects the water and it'll shut off. Controls are easily accessible in the rear or front of the washing machines. And then what you can also do is they make washing machines nowadays that just go on top of counters. So, and a lot of people, a lot of seniors, they don't have a lot of laundry. It's just like a small load. So you can just put it on top of the counter, and that eliminates having to either reach down or reach underneath to grab all the laundry out. All right, outdoor safety. So one of the first things I look at when I do a home safety assessment is I look at the driveway, I look at the walkway, I look at the steps going into the house, I look at the lighting, and I especially look at the cement too. A lot of the times there's unevenness in the brick, or there's unevenness in the concrete, and the client or the patient is still walking to and from the mailbox. And so and sometimes the incline of their driveway too is like super steep. So say someone has a walker. My grandfather had a very, very long walkway, and he had a four-wheel walker, but it had a little bit of an the walkway had a little bit of an incline, but he was on his four-wheel walker and he was going down, and the walker just gets away from him. You know, and unfortunately with four-wheel walkers, they do have the brakes, but if you're going down, you don't have the reaction time to get them, you know. And so unfortunately he was kind of face planted. Luckily nothing happened, but yeah, just one example. And then, so stairs, they have, you want them to have like handrails, even if it's like 2 or 3 steps, just have a handrail to go easily up and down. And then place a table outside the door for like convenience, setting your purse down, setting groceries down. Everyone tries to unlock their door while carrying everything. And then street number visible in case of emergency. So in case EMS or fire department, police department had to come to the house, you want them to be able to look it up. Granted, nowadays we have GPS, so it'll send them directly to where you're at. It just helps out a little bit. And then keep thresholds below 1 inch. And so that's standard throughout the entire house. Thresholds are just like transitions between like the doorway back inside the house kind of thing, or like the threshold of your shower tub. So anything above 1 inch, you have a lot more of a risk for kind of clipping your toe or tripping over. Oh, one thing I also do is grab bars aren't only for the shower or for the bathroom. They can be for anywhere inside the house, getting in and out of the laundry room if there's like a step just to get up and down from, or in and out of the front door or back door. So general home safety considerations. We talked about all rooms and hallways well lit and easily accessible light switches, motion activated night lights, house and countertops free of clutter, strategically placed chairs, and all electrical cords well maintained along the walls. And then never overload the outlets. That's just more of like a generalized home safety. And then also you can, a lot of people with what's called neuropathy, they may have it in their hands and they may not be able to like feel a lot of heat. And so you can turn your water heater down automatically to 120, so it won't go above that. That way it prevents scalding for people. And then assess areas of glare from artificial and natural lights. And so what that means is certain times of the day, there may be a glare going onto a toaster or a glare going onto a microwave. And so you can assess certain times of the day. So you go in the morning, you have a family member go in the afternoon, nighttime, not nighttime, but evening time, and just kind of see where those glares are, because it may hit the senior and they don't even know that it happens. And then reduce the glare by using indirect lighting, curtains, and shades. So one of my favorite things is you can do a lot of things for Alzheimer's and dementia considerations too. So one of the biggest things for seniors is with dementia or Alzheimer's, is you want to have a daily schedule to reduce the confusion, and you want to have a daily routine as well. It just helps out so much more. And then label commonly used items. For example, you can label an entire door. So say they get lost going to the bathroom or where their bedroom's at, you can label the bathroom, and then so-and-so's bedroom. I've even had family members where the mom or dad lives with their sons and the grandkids too. So they have the grandkids' names on one door. They have the son and his wife's name on one door, and then they have the mom's name on one door as well. Create a familiar and calming environment. So what I mean by that is, especially we do a lot of work going from home into like a senior living community for people with dementia, and that may be just worrisome in itself. And so what I like to do is setting up their room exactly as much as possible to how it was back at home. That way it's familiar to where they're at. Their clothes are in the same place, they have the same dresser, they have the same nightstands, just as much familiarity. It's almost like a calming for them too. And then night lights and light strips leading to and from the bathroom. And then always monitor for dehydration and nutritional deficiencies. This can really, really impact the balance. Say someone has a UTI. UTI was one of the biggest things one of the biggest things I saw in the hospital when I worked there. And they were delirious. They didn't know where they were. It's almost like they had full-blown dementia. Or to say they had dementia, and this exacerbated it even more. And they consider using door or bed alarms too. And so you can put door alarms at the front door, back door, and then bed alarms. Say someone's just had a hip replacement, and the doctor doesn't want them to bear weight or walk for a little bit, and they don't remember that, so they try to get in and out of bed. Having that bed alarm will just alert you or the family member, caregiver, whoever it is, that person is trying to get out of bed or get out of the house as well. We used to have put a little bell outside our front door. So when my grandfather left, we just heard that little bell kind of go ding. Someone was always with him, but we always knew. Yeah.
I don't know if you touched on the subject yet, but, with regard to the use of power strips.
Mhm.
Or let's say this is
Yeah.
or wherever,
In a trip hazard?
yeah.
Yeah, so electrical cords, anytime they're on the ground, especially power strips too. If you were to instead of getting the power strip, just get the wall outlet that just goes straight into, and it has like 5 or 6 different outlets kind of thing. Because that's just an extra cord that people can trip on. Usually power strips are kind of a little bit shorter too, but still they're out there.
I think maybe that applies to the thing you were saying about having lighted things so they can see where they're going, but now that's also something they can trip on.
So what I mean by those, so the lighted strips, they actually go along the walls. So they're right there, and it's almost like a 3M. So you just kind of tear off the back of it and just kind of place it down. So it's like less than a half an inch or a quarter of an inch threshold kind of thing. And they're mainly just kind of along the walls. Yeah.
So a lot of apartment buildings, especially under HUD, have these things. The doors are basically like sealed as it were when you close them, and now it has an extra impediment that even when you're taking out a cart or a walker, it tends to actually hit the caster and actually break.
Yeah, and you have to say someone with a walker. Yeah, 100%. It's hard because falls are never going to be 100% prevented. There's always going to be that little threshold that you can hit, or that carpet or the rug that you clip, or whatever it is. But you just want to do as much as possible. All right, next steps to safety. So I want to go over some low cost and no cost solutions. So one of the biggest things you can do is remove all the rugs around the house. Let in natural light by opening the blinds and curtains, but beware of all those glares as well. All electrical cords are routed along walls. Remove clutter, and then adjust the water heater to about 120 degrees. What are some low cost solutions? So double-sided tape under carpets. So if someone didn't want to get rid of the rug, that rug's been there for 30, 40, 50 years, however long it's been. It's not going anywhere. There's things you can do. So you can either tack them down. There's double-sided tape that you can get from like Home Depot or Lowe's that you can put down, and it really keeps it down. You still run that risk because it is kind of still the threshold, but that's one thing you can do. Also for doorways, you want to have that 32 inches. I have same family I did a home safety assessment last week. One of her door frames, she can't get her walker. you know? And so one of the things I suggested is, it's right there. It's like a half an inch or an inch maybe, but you can install offset hinges in doors. And so it actually adds 2 more inches of space. So instead of the hinges sticking out, they kind of go into each other. I hope that makes sense. If anyone needs me to send a link to that, I'm more than happy to. User-friendly light switches, motion detector night lights, D-shaped handles makes it easier to grab instead of the knobs. Installing grab bars around the home, and then handheld shower heads as well. So not only do you have a grab bar in the shower, you have a shower chair or a shower bench, but also eliminating the sit to stand multiple times. You just have a shower head that you can wash on. Oh, fear of falling. So the vicious cycle. So there is I call it the healthcare cycle. So someone has a fall at home, they go to the hospital, they stay there for a couple weeks, then they go to rehab or to a skilled nursing facility, they rehab for 2 weeks, and they go home and they have another fall. And they're back in the hospital, back at a SNF for 2 weeks, and it's just like a downhill cycle. So there's a vicious cycle for the falling as well. So first off, once you have a fall, there's a fear of falling. It is a legitimate fear of falling. Where I used to take my patients to the edge of the bed, and they would lose it. They already think that they were falling, and they were completely safe, but they just had that fear in anticipation of that fear too. But that fear of falling, that person didn't want to get out of bed anymore. She doesn't want to stand, so she's not using her muscles. She's not using her legs, nothing. So that creates less activity. That less activity creates muscle weakness. That muscle weakness will create poor balance. That poor balance may lead to another fall. Okay. So how do we break that cycle? Encourage safe movement. Foster that confidence for them. Put that confidence in them, even if it's short little goals, a little bit at a time. Say they're barely standing up, and you stand up once, and that's it. Hey, we did it. We finally stood up. Tomorrow, I want you to stand up 2 times. The day after, I want you to stand up once, but I want to stand for a minute. And then the next day, maybe we can do some side steps up the bed. Just doing those little goals. And again, that's a very drastic kind of thing. Provide education and support for them as well. Let them know what they're doing. Let them know nose over the toes. I'm going to help you with standing up. And then address the psychological barriers. It's a legitimate fear. Once you have a fall, it's a traumatic experience, especially if you break a hip. And especially if you're in a hospital setting, you're out of your norm, it's really, really hard on a lot of people. All right, so next steps for anyone who works with seniors, loved one, or yourself. So now that we understand the impact of the falls, we know kind of how to assess fall risk early a little bit. Now we want to educate caregivers and the families, and then modify the environment, go through the home. Each have that home safety checklist. If you don't, there's copies of it at the front. And then whoever wants me to send a PDF form, we have a home safety checklist that you can go throughout the entire home and kind of assess it for yourself too. Encourage mobility and exercise. Just encourage them to move around. Hey, let's go for a walk right now, even if it's for 5 minutes. Let's get them moving a little bit. And then develop a response plan too, in case something were to happen with what's going to go on. And then also just get a team involved as well. And so knowing the limitations of a person, knowing what to do around the house. Oh, hey, I removed the rugs around mom's house today. When she comes to your house next week, you may want to do the same thing. So talk with everyone involved. And then promote a culture of fall prevention too. There's different things that you can use. I'm a full believer if you need a walker, if you need a cane, use it, because it will be your best friend and it will save your life. I've had patients where they refuse to use a walker and they've fallen, hitting their head, and they've never woken up. I've also had patients who have dementia, and it's hard because they don't remember they don't need a walker. In their minds, they may be like 20 years old. And so they just forget it, and then they're walking. And saw someone last week who was fully hunched over, and my fall prevention spidey sense was tingling. But she had dementia. She didn't remember that she didn't have a walker. So it's just constant reminders like, hey, I got to tell grandma, hey, I got to tell mom, dad, whoever it is, to use it. We talked about the home safety checklist that we use. It describes a lot of what we covered today. And that's it. Any questions right now? Yes.
I have to say that this program in Irving, we have wonderful classes for officers.
That's amazing. Good.
Yeah, and I wish I had more.
Oh, that's good.
They wonderful programs.
That's good. That's good to hear. And Lisa's Care Connection does an amazing job setting a lot of these programs. That's who set it up for me today too. So thank you, you guys. But any questions online or anything? Yes.
I just wanted to make a statement.
Yeah.
One of the best ways to, when you're able to walk, is to take Tai Chi. And Johnson has 2 different days of Tai Chi classes.
Really? Okay.
So Tai Chi it really helps.
Heard
with
good
balance.
things. Yeah.
It helps with your immune system. I mean,
Yeah.
Harvard Medical School has a book this thick. They're all over the world getting research.
Really.
Positive effects of doing Tai Chi.
So that's what it shows in like the blue zone studies as well. One of the things that we believe in over at the Key is we call it our balanced care method. So we're not just going in there like helping out the person, but like what's going to make them, it's like a holistic approach. We're looking at their eating habits, sleeping habits, physical activity. How are we going to get you to move more? What are your cognitive stimulation? Are you doing the things that you used to love to do? You know what I mean? So Tai Chi would fit perfectly into that like physical exercise kind of things. Yeah.
Everyone associates a fall risk with balance problems. That's not necessarily the case.
Okay.
I don't have problems with balance, but my right leg doesn't want to go up as much as it should. So I can put up.
Your weight bear.
I can deal with my shoes, but with my socks, I need both hands.
Gotcha.
And so, if I'm using one hand to pull up the leg, I'm going to be leaning over, and unfortunately, I have a cloth upholstered chair right there that I can put my forehead against.
Oh no, I have a tool for you. I got it, and I'll pull it. Actually, I can pull
Well,
it.
you can figure out what works out for you. I mean,
Yeah.
With what's there.
That's true. That's very true. It goes back to every person's kind of different. They figure it out.
And writers, I used to sit 20 hours typing.
Yeah.
And now if I sit 15 minutes, I have a hard time getting up.
Yep.
And I always joke that, well, I don't like sitting down because my brain goes to sleep. But it turns out that's actually the case. They have, you develop amnesia in your hind parts. Your muscles forget how to work. And the rest of your body is stressing to do the job.
And there's no proprioception going through your feet, so it's nothing. Yeah, that makes sense.
And if your feet are hurting, that's hard to balance on. It's not the balance, it's the fact that, sometimes it feels like you're walking on glass.
Yeah. Do you have neuropathy in your feet too? Sorry, I don't mean.
Well, I haven't been able to get to a physician because I never go to physicians. And so all these programs that offer you the stuff like this and so on, they say, well, we need a doctor to examine you. And I think that's what I'm trying to get you to do.
Get you to do.
You need to get a doctor to examine you. You get a doctor to examine you.
If you need someone, I can help out with that.
Okay.
I do. But no, yeah, I can. Yeah.
Because it's just I can swing the leg rather than lift it, so I can do things that people don't expect you to do.
Yeah.
But when we're getting older, we're just finding ways to cheat.
Hey, that's
why
I'm gonna use that if that's okay.
Sure. Listen, cheating tips, is that what you need?
I wanted to go over a couple devices that we use, that I use in therapy. Does anyone know what this is?
Something to beat somebody off with.
Yeah, no, my mom used to beat me with it now.
Put it around someone's leg and walk and you can hold on.
Yes, so it's called a cape belt. Typically it's used if someone has any balance issues or if someone's a fall risk or anything. and they're transferring from one area to another. They still have that independence, so they can walk, so you want to maintain that, but they just need a little bit more stability. So this is a gait belt. Basically, a couple different options to put it. You can put it around, usually put it around the waist, and then you want to tighten it as tight as you can, okay? And you're always going to feed it through the teeth part first. For people that online, you can see there's that teeth part. So you'll put it through, tighten it as much as you can, and then you're good to go. And you have so much control with these too. So say with someone's like fully going forward, all you need is a little tug just to bring them back to center. And these are a lifesaver. I use them in the hospital, and I just definitely recommend people using them around the house, especially if anyone's like light to moderate to severe fall risk.
Where do you buy that? Where do you buy that?
Amazon, yeah, Amazon would be probably the best things that you can get for like, or medical supply places. CVS may have it, maybe not CVS. Medical supply stores, Amazon. I usually go to Amazon for all my stuff. This is another tool that I use as well. This is for, I can't demonstrate it that well. It's to help someone get in and out of a car. So when you open up a car door, there's that little metal piece that looks like a hook that's right inside, right there. This part goes right in there, and it acts like a handle for them to stand up, actually. So for example, if someone was getting out of the car, they would bring the legs out, they could put that piece right into that metal, and then it'll actually help them stand up. It's one of the hardest parts, especially like getting in and out of like a sedan, a lower set car. And honestly, getting up from a lower surface, lower toilets are hard to get up from. And so there's risers that you can get. There's so many different types of medical equipment just to help out with that. But yeah, this is another tool that I kind of like to use. And it even has like a seatbelt cutter, and you can break the window with it too.
Perfect burglar tool.
No.
Yeah, that's one of the problems I find is that a lot of seating, especially if they're being ergonomic,
Yeah.
have your knees higher than your back.
Yeah, it just doesn't make
And it's harder to get up.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to get up because I mean, gravity's taking over. If I'm already right here, it's just gonna be a lot easier than if I'm already all down here, getting all the way forward and get up. But say for someone who's been in the bed for 2 weeks, or someone who's been who's primarily bed bound when they transfer to and from commode to use the bathroom, it's a lot harder. So they have those electric beds that'll help stand them up and stand up a little bit easier. The same thing with toilets. Lower surfaces are hard to get up from. Chairs, recliners, sunken in chairs, recliners. And so, yeah.
It's again where I started using, strong press every time I wanted to get up.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm fortunate to have a bed that's higher than normal. So
Okay.
if I just swing out my legs,
Yeah.
I'm standing.
But there's also a double sword too, because
Yeah.
some people who
You're gonna
are
fall over,
some people who are a big fall risk and roll in and out of bed, you have to have a lower surface. So people will literally just put a mattress on the ground because their loved ones rolling in and out of bed. There are like bed rails that you can buy too, but even sometimes then they're trying to climb over the bed rails. And so then having a lower surface will make it harder to stand on, but it's also saving them from falling at night. So it is really hard. Any questions? Yeah. No, unfortunately, Medicare won't cover it. Medicare usually only covers a walker, a wheelchair, and a bedside or a 3-in-1 commode. And that's once per year kind of thing. Usually with these, you have to pay for out of pocket. But the gate belt shouldn't be more than like $10. And then I bought 2 of these for I think $8. Yeah, I bought a 2-pack. I think they only comes in a 2-pack that I saw. But they're not too expensive like a lot of the other medical supplies. No. Like the hinge part. No. This is exactly what it's made for, to help people stand in and
You know, those are things you can't prescribe in other words, but if the doctor prescribes something to you, like a tool, it would be covered by insurance. Maybe not by Medicare, because it depends what Medicare is going to cover.
You know what? You may be able to pay for this through your HSA accounts, like health savings accounts. I don't think Medicare will pay for it, but maybe your HSA accounts. And honestly, every insurance company is different, so I would just double check with your insurance company.
Like if you needed lights for diabetic or something.
Yeah, that's completely, yeah,
You don't go buy it, have your doctor prescribe it, then it's covered by insurance.
then it's covered by, yeah. It's like $80 for a belt, which I totally understand. Yeah, it's crazy. There's also an amazing, it's called the Convalescent Aid Society over in Pasadena. If you qualify, and they're over here in Burbank too, right? Yeah, I think when the fires happened, they had to move all their locations to their office over here in Burbank. But they do amazing work with a lot of their medical supply stuff. So they have shower chairs, they have wheelchairs, they have walkers, they have anything that you need.
Can they take donations?
They do, yes.
If you have a walker that's really
Yeah,
bad use.
because they'll refurbish it and then re-sanitize everything. Yeah. The Convalescent Aid Society. You know what? I'm going to leave my card. If you want to email me, I'm more than willing to pick them up and then deliver them for you too. Perfect. Yeah, sounds good. Convalescent Aid Society. They do an amazing job. The stuff that they did for the fire victims, as well as Jesus Care Connection. It's unmatched. Any questions online or anything? No. There is. There's a socket. Yeah, when you have a hip replacement, you get what's called a hip kit. So a hip kit. So this is what the socket is. So you have a rope with a PVC pipe. Whoever invented this made like so much money. But you have the rope, PVC, and half a PVC pipe. You put the sock on over, and you go fishing for your foot, and you just pull it on up. Yeah. Cool.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for everyone joining us.
So thank you to Eric for coming, and again, thank you. Great presentation, very useful information. Again, we're Jesus Care Connection, so we're going to be here bi-weekly, twice a month, first and third month of every Wednesday. And so the next class that we're going to be having is hospice versus immediate care. So what the difference is, and covering that, and that's going to be on March 5th. And then we also have March 19th, we have developing an emergency plan. So that's going to be a good one as well. Brought to by the care, and then access care is going to be covering the hospital care. So if you guys are interested, you guys can sign up either with the doctor center or email us. Thank you guys for joining.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. That's fine.
Now we give you a standing ovation.